Alastair Campbell was never famed for his smooth touch or understatement. The now dadcaster used to be Tony Blair's former head of communications. He's viewed by many, including myself, as participating in a series of mistruths to the British public so that this country could go to war in Iraq. Last night, Mr. Campbell appeared at an Intelligence Squared event in North London, and the Evening Standard has a write-up of a particularly eyebrow-raising moment. They write this. A young audience member came to Campbell with a conundrum. Her friends no longer want to vote for Keir Starmer because of his refusal to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. What should she do? Get off your high horse and vote Labour, he instructed with classic Campbell finesse. He explained to the idealistic questioner, this poor person, she's all about her friends, that there's, quote, no such thing as a perfect candidate. Abraham Lincoln was not a perfect human being. Nelson Mandela was not a perfect human being. Keir Starmer and Nelson Mandela in the same sentence there. One was raised in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, the other in Oxted, Surrey, home to a Peter Rabbit trail. One was in prison for 27 years, the other was director of public prosecutions when someone went to prison for stealing a bottle of water. And isn't it strange how Campbell never said the same about Jeremy Corbyn? He's not perfect, but he'll do. Interesting. Could have been useful before 2019, Mr. Campbell. Alastair went on to explain that Starmer was probably thinking about his relationship with Joe Biden. Does he really want to use up political capital now with the Americans in a way that would make your friends feel a bit better for a few days, he added. He also said it was, quote, not true that British Muslim support for Labour has halved since the war in Gaza, as recent polls have recorded. Well, look, we can debate around polls. We know that Muslim support for Labour has fallen, and that's not up for debate by the end of the month because there's going to be a by-election in Rochdale, which has a large Muslim population. So let's see. I suspect Mr. Campbell may be proven wrong. Mike, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I'll ask you two questions, but first of all, do you think people like Alastair Campbell just think that Palestine isn't remotely important as an issue for Labour? I understand not thinking it's important or supporting Israel. I understand that. But as somebody who's meant to be in touch with political expediency, voter preferences, that's been his job for so long, surely he recognises that this is a huge issue for a big chunk of Labour's vote.
Absolutely, and I think we know that Labour's very popular amongst Muslim voters, for example. They care very deeply about the kind of issue and what's happening in Gaza, much like many of us in Britain actually care about this issue. And I think the dismissive tone on Gaza by Campbell sums up a lot of a liberal commentariat's view on the issue. It's just grow up, guys. It's an issue, but we'll get to grips with it when we're in power. Just vote for us and just trust us. The idea that we should just blindly trust Labour to fix the issues of this country because it's Labour and because it's this kind of party that have always been the party that fixed all of our problems, so we should just trust them again. I'm just really baffled by the dismissive tone, and especially with someone like Campbell, who, as you said, played kind of a leading role in leading us into the war in Iraq. I think his dismissive tone on Gaza is baffling. And again, we have to remember why people care deeply about this. We're talking about the slaughter of people in Gaza. We're talking about murder of thousands of people, right? That's the issue. That's why people care deeply about this. You can't dismiss that and just vote Labour as if Labour are going to fix things. I think it is important for voters what Labour's position is on a ceasefire. It is important to know what Labour's position is on a Palestinian state. All of these things matter. These are moral issues that can tell you a lot about where a party might lead the nation once it's in government. So you can dismiss this and just be like, just vote for Labour. It is baffling. And no one wants the perfect politician, but people want politicians that care. And I think caring about the plight of those in Gaza is important. It's an important sign that these are politicians who are compassionate about the suffering of the most vulnerable in this world. And ultimately, at the moment, Labour haven't shown that compassion. Labour haven't shown that empathy with those in Gaza, and they've been dismissive of those who raise concerns about, ceasefires and other things.
There's two layers here, like I say. Anybody with a brain cell, or even just who canvasses for Labour, knows this is an issue for Labour. There are right-wing Labour councillors who message me, who say this is a really big issue on the doors. Is it going to stop Keir Starmer becoming Prime Minister? No. Will it cost them, lots and lots and lots of seats? Probably not, right? Maybe, but probably not. There's no indication of that. But is it going to cost potentially hundreds of councillors? Yes. Is it going to maybe determine whether or not Labour controls various councils? Yes. Is it going to stop certain people from winning seats when they would have won seats? Absolutely. Is it going to bring down majorities of MPs who therefore will lose their seat next time? Yes. And those are meant to be the kinds of considerations that Campbell is sort of focused on monomaniacally. That's all he cares about. I'm a winner. I love to win. Well, if you love to win, why defend this? That's not to say that Keir Starmer needs to sort of go on the Palestine Solidarity Campaign march through London every Saturday, or come on Novara Media and wear a keffiyeh with me and Michael Walker. I'm not suggesting that. But obviously there's a problem for the party on this issue, much of it, by the way, self-inflicted, and from an electoral standpoint, it makes no sense. And the only reason why I can make sense of any of it is because for people like Keir Starmer, for people like Alastair Campbell, any issue which is left-coded, any issue, there's no electoral downside for them to sort of bulldozing through it. Okay, no, we hate public ownership. No, we don't like trade unions. No, we don't care about the left-wing policy position on X, Y, Z. No, actually, publicly owned NHS isn't all that. There's a role for the private sector. No, actually, Palestine is bad. They think there's no electoral downside here. But as we'll see in a story in a moment, look, the numbers on Gaza right now are absolutely jaw-dropping. There's a reason why the ICJ made the verdict that it did. And I think as anybody, even on the centre-right, you have to have a more humane position on that than Keir Starmer does right now, least of all being a quote-unquote progressive. Of course, I don't think Mr. Starmer is a progressive. That's just my view. I'm sure some of you disagree with that. But on this issue, it just makes no sense at all. Makes no sense.